They say there's no stupid question, or the only stupid question is the one that doesn't get asked. But I've certainly had my fair share of stupid questions over the years. We're going to come to a text today where it seems as though Jesus asks a stupid question. You see, there's this man who's been sick for a long time, and Jesus asks this question, do you want to get well? Which, of course, we all assume the answer is yes, of course he does. But if we look at our lives, there are behaviors and ways of thinking that we actually don't want to be healed, that we don't actually want to change, that keep us exactly where we are. I think about a mower that I still use to this day. A few years ago was not running very well. It was hard to start, it smoked, and the blade was duller than a butter knife, and as a result, it took me forever to mow my lawn. I literally went over a half of a summer with this mower limping along until someone finally just volunteered to fix my mower. You see, I wanted the mower to be fixed, but I didn't do anything about it. And I think our lives are like that, aren't they? We want to be healed. We want things to change, maybe in our marriage or our physical health or our mental health, or maybe we continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And so we say we want to get well, don't we? But sometimes we don't actually want to. It's like we're wanting to be healed, but we're standing outside the hospital, not actually willing to go in. We're looking at the 7 signs of John, and we come to the 3rd sign of John. As a reminder, the signs of John are not pointing to the miracle itself, but pointing to who Jesus is. And today we're going to learn that Jesus is personal and he's purposeful. I want to read the text to you found in John chapter 5. It says this, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for a feast of the Jews. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethsaida, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. John gives this amount of detail for us to know that this is an actual place. This isn't just a fairy tale story. Archaeologists have actually excavated the site, and they believe that they have found this exact place that John is describing in this verse. And it says here that a great number of disabled people would gather around this place. Sick people. A place where people did not want to go. A place that was probably very filthy if you think about paralyzed people and sick people and blind people gathering in this place day after day. And it's in this place that we see that Jesus is personal. He does not avoid them. He comes to the site. And he comes to this man who's been sick for a very long time. He's been paralyzed for 38 years. And he asks what we're calling the stupid question, do you want to get well? And the man has to decide, is he willing to let go of his old patterns, his own old way of life, to say yes? You see, sometimes it's harder to be healed than to stay sick. Sometimes it's harder to change than to live in an old pattern. And Jesus asks the question, do you want to get well? And the man gives a reason why he's not able to get into the pool, thinking that Jesus is questioning his tactics. But Jesus is not interested in changing the man's tactics to get into the pool. He wants the man to know that the healing is found in him. The change is found in him. And so Jesus says, get up, take your mat, and walk. And immediately the man is healed. Now maybe you've heard a story about Jesus healing in the past, or you've heard this story before and you're like, okay, I get it. But can you imagine a man who hasn't walked in 38 years all of a sudden being able to jump, to walk, to run on his own 2 feet? It's incredible. Jesus is personal. He's not only personal, but he's also purposeful. You see, the text tells us that the day in which this took place was the Sabbath. You see, I don't think this day is accidental. No, I think it's very purposeful that Jesus chose the Sabbath to heal this man. Because remember, it's not just about the miracle, it's about who he is. And the rest of the dialogue in this chapter is with Jesus and the Jewish leaders as they argue the fact that he healed this man on the Sabbath. But Jesus wants them to know that he's not an ordinary person, that he is in fact God. And so he wants them to know, you know what? The God of the universe doesn't care on what day a healing takes place. And so we see that Jesus is both personal and purposeful. Do you want to get well? What part of your life is lying on the mat that you need to invite Jesus to come in and change and to bring healing? And who's on the outside that you may have stopped believing that they'll ever change or ever believe, that God is saying, let me do the healing in their life? Do you want to get well? Are you going to stay on the outside, or are you going to come in and let God do the healing?